Your microwave flips water molecules 4.9 billion times a second, and it's not tuned to water's resonant frequency, like you've been told. That's the myth nearly everyone repeats. That 2.45 gigahertz is somehow water's special note, the frequency it wants to vibrate at. It isn't. Water doesn't even have a resonant frequency in that range. So if it's not resonance, what is actually happening inside that box every time you reheat leftovers? Let's cut one open and find out. Pop the metal casing off a microwave oven and the whole trick reduces to one part. A vacuum tube, called a magnetron. Feed it household electricity, and it screams out invisible radio waves at 2.45 gigahertz, thousands of times more powerful than a Wi-Fi router. Those waves get funneled down a metal channel called a waveguide and dumped straight into the cooking chamber. No flamme, no heating coil. Just electromagnetic waves bouncing around a sealed metal box with your dinner sitting in the middle of it. Here's where the popular story breaks down. People imagine the microwave finds water's natural vibration and rings it like a bell. But water molecules don't have a sharp resonant peak at 2.45 gigahertz. Their absorption is broad and sluggish across a huge range of frequencies. What actually happens is simpler and a little cruder. Each water molecule is a tiny magnet with a positive end and a negative end, called a dipole. The microwave's electric field flips direction billions of times a second, and every flip yanks those dipoles around to follow it. That relentless flipping is the whole mechanism. Water molecules try to twist and realign with the field every time it reverses, and they're jostling against billions of neighbors while they do it. All that molecular shoving and rubbing is friction, and friction generates heat. It's the same physics as rubbing your palms together fast, just happening at the molecular scale for 0.9 billion times each second. The 2.45 gigahertz number wasn't chosen because it matches water. It was chosen as an engineering compromise. Lower frequencies would sail almost straight through food without being absorbed, barely warming anything. Higher frequencies get absorbed so fast they'd only cook a thin outer shell and never reach the center, and they'd also interfere with radar and communication bands already using that spectrum. 2.45 gigahertz sits in a sweet spot. It penetrates roughly 2 to 4 centimeters into typical food before most of its energy is soaked up deep enough to cook a chicken breast most of the way through, not just its surface. But a sealed metal box does something waves hate. It reflects them back and forth, and those reflections collide to form standing waves, fixed peaks, and dips of energy called hot spots and cold spots. Leave a plate still, and you get scorching rings next to barely warm patches, the classic lukewarm center of a bad reheat. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. Physically move the food. A rotating turntable, or in fancier ovens a spinning metal fan called a mode stirrer, drags your dinner through both the hot and cold zones, so the average comes out even. This also explains why your ceramic plate stays cool while the soup on it boils. Microwaves interact almost entirely with polar molecules like water, fat, and sugar. Glass, ceramic, and plastic have no strongly polar structure for the field to grab onto, so the waves pass straight through them untouched. The plate only gets hot secondhand by touching the actual food. Metal is the opposite problem. It reflects microwaves outright and can spark or arc at edges, which is the real reason foil doesn't belong in there. So forget the idea of a microwave tuned to water's secret song. It's cruder and more clever than that. A magnetron blasting out radio waves, water molecules wrenched back and forth billions of times a second, friction turning that motion into heat, and a turntable smoothing out the mess reflections leave behind. Simple physics, brute forced into your kitchen counter. If that changes how you look at your next bowl of leftovers, that's the whole point of this channel. Stick around, we keep cutting things open.